The Eagle leaks out of the NFL Combine just got wild, as a key insider confirmed the Birds' trade desires that includes stealing this star player away from a divisional rival if Howie's put in a bind. But what would that mean for Josh Sweat and the rest of the Birds' free agents? Plus, the big takeaways from Nick Sirianni and Howie Roseman's Combine interviews today. Thomas Mott, this is the Thomas Mott Show. The NFL Combine is officially here, and while most fans view it as a time for running drills in spandex and meeting with potential draft candidates, it's also the one time every spring where nearly all GMs, coaches, and scouts meet in one city to talk business, and the news and leaks from this week are usually pretty wild. Almost as wild as me being 3,000 subscribers away from 90,000 subs and my 90K giveaway, which is a signed Zack Baun Super Bowl mini helmet. If you want to win, drop a like, be sure to be subbed, and leave a comment down below where you would put it in your house if you won. Also, watch out for scammers. I only announce the winners on my show during the week. Now, ever since the Eagles won the Super Bowl, we've heard rumblings in the form of mock trades for Browns edge rusher Myles Garrett, but the only real hard reporting on the actual matter was Ian Rappaport claiming the Browns said they have no intention of trading Garrett, which was echoed today by Browns GM Andrew Berry at the Combine.
Just touch on Myles. So Myles, as you guys have all heard me say, he's a huge part of our organization, a really good person. He's an awesome player. Understand the trade request and everything, but our stance really has not changed. We can't imagine a situation where not having Myles as a part of the organization is best for the Browns.
But usually when a team says we aren't trading our star player who has already demanded a trade, that usually means we aren't trading them unless you give us an offer we can't refuse. And that offer might be coming sooner rather than later. Insert Jeremy Fowler. Personally, one of the ESPN reporters I pay the most attention to because he's all business and none of the fluff. And boy, did he deliver today, dropping the first real report linking the Eagles to the All-Pro pass rusher.
This is a conversation that some people in the league have had, that the Philadelphia Eagles, one of the most aggressive, if not the most aggressive teams on the trade market, will be looking for a pass rusher. Josh Sweat, the Super Bowl likely or close MVP, could be out. The expectation is that he will sign elsewhere, so they're going to have a need there. Myles Garrett, they would not want to see him go to the Washington Commanders, for example. If that was to gain traction, Howie Roseman would likely step in, try to make a deal that is too hard for the Cleveland Browns to refuse.
Okay, a lot to break down there. First, Fowler did note that Josh Sweat will sign elsewhere. Sweat's 2024 season and subsequent incredible Super Bowl performance has definitely earned him north of $17 million a year. There are plenty of teams with big pockets willing to pay that for the free agent's best pass rusher. Now, why won't the Birds simply just pay Sweat themselves and be done with the offseason? Well, they likely don't view Sweat as a Pro Bowl caliber edge rusher going forward, having seen him play his entire 7 seasons in Philadelphia and only once amassing double-digit sacks. Fangio in the front office likely believes Sweat reached his full potential as an 8-sack guy in 2024 and are likely wanting to spend the $17, $18, $20 million it'll take elsewhere on potentially a better player. And that better player is obviously Myles Garrett, which is the meat of Jeremy Fowler's report from earlier today. Fowler's big claim, besides Garrett, is the fact they're going to be one of the most aggressive, if not the most aggressive teams on the trade market, and they will be looking for a pass rusher. But that's not all. The real kicker here is keeping Garrett out of the hands of an NFC East rival in the Washington Commanders, who have the cap space to pull the trigger on a possible Garrett trade. And you have to remember, the Browns GM has a twin brother in the Eagles front office, and they are definitely 100% talking as brothers do. So Philadelphia will get wind if the Commanders are working on a deal to trade for Garrett, and if this report for Fowler is true, would step in and make sure Garrett stayed away from the Washington Commanders. And this makes a ton of sense. Like, the Commanders are the closest team in the NFC East, and I would argue maybe the entire NFC to the Philadelphia Eagles heading into the 2025 season. Yes, we did dismantle them in the NFC Championship game, but if Jalen Daniels progresses and they were to add an edge rusher like Garrett, it definitely is going to be a very difficult team to beat. And Howie Roseman's not dumb. He understands this, and if he can stop Garrett going to the Commanders, he will, potentially setting up the biggest bidding war in the coming weeks for one of the biggest trades in recent NFL history. But I think this report is more than just Myles Garrett to the Philadelphia Eagles. I think it's overall an indication of what Philadelphia is viewing the offseason as, a chance to get bigger, better, faster, stronger, and go for a home run hit heading into the 2025 season. And Howie Roseman said just that during his press conference at the NFL Combine today, saying Philadelphia has a lot of guys still in their prime, and they want to maximize really the overall roster and keep the Super Bowl window wide open.
We have to get creative to make sure that we're keeping as many of our good players as we can. I sat up here last year and I said that's going to include playing young players, and I think that's going to be a huge part of what we are going forward because we're fortunate enough to have a lot of good players who are making a lot of money.
Oh, and yes, he was asked about Myles Garrett and straight up gave a classic Howie response.
I'm not going to talk about anyone under contract with another team. I think that, one thing that I can promise our fans is that there will not be a player that's available that we won't study, that we won't look at and see if it can help the team. Sometimes those opportunities work, and you're able to do that, and sometimes they don't. Never feel like we have enough O linemen or D linemen. Always on the lookout for those positions at every level, whether it's in free agency, whether it's in the draft, whether it's after the draft, whether it's on the street. It's really like an unhealthy obsession, Zach, to be honest with you.
Come on, you can't say, yes, I'm going to go ahead and get Myles Garrett just yet, but that doesn't mean he's not going to try. And in the end, it might not be Myles Garrett. He could be a Commander. He could stay with the Cleveland Browns. We don't know 100% for sure. But it does tell us that Philadelphia is going to be making phone calls in and around the National Football League, and whether it's Miles Crosby, whether it's somebody else, whether it's Myles Garrett, I expect them to add a pass rusher, not just in the draft, not just in free agency, but also by trade. What do you guys think? Do you buy this whole Fowler report? Do you want it to happen? Do you think it's the Eagles versus the Commanders? Give me your Myles Garrett takes down below in the comment section. Let me know how excited you are about the potential of getting 29 years old, but an all-road edge rusher back to Philadelphia. Now, Howie was also asked about re-signing Zack Baun and paying him a massive bag, and while his answer was pretty vague, I think it is safe to say they have a plan for the linebacker and will execute it as soon as possible.
Yeah, I think obviously you got to find the happy medium towards making sure the players are fairly compensated and feeling good about it, and at the same time doing it early enough so you can try to save some cap room, because every time you save some cap room and then you compound it by signing another player, it gives you an opportunity to add other players. And I think it's really important for us to try to identify the guys that we want as quickly as possible and be confident in those evaluations. Not saying we're always going to be right. I think doing that allows you to start the proration a little bit early, which saves some cap room.
Also, let me know if you're finally tired of all the tush push hate from around the National Football League, as I'm sure you saw yesterday, there was a report that the Green Bay Packers of all teams were the ones who submitted a proposal to the league to ban the brotherly shove this season. And it sounds like a lot of crybaby NFL coaches, at least today during their press conferences, tended to agree.
I know we're not very successful against it, I know that. But to be honest with you, I have not put much thought into it.
This should have been illegal 3 years ago. No, the tush push play, I was never been a big fan. There's just no other play in our game where you can absolutely get behind somebody and push them, pull them off, do anything.
To me, there's always been an injury risk with that play, and I've expressed that opinion for the last couple of years or so when it really started to come into play the way it's being used. Especially, a year ago.
I think the giveaway here is that if your team got killed by the Eagles doing the brotherly shove, or you tried it yourself and failed, then you're probably complaining right now. The best part of all this, though, is that we kind of forget the Packers were the most successful team against the brotherly shove week 1 down in Brazil. They stopped it twice, as Brian Baldinger pointed out on X earlier today.
Well, they stopped it twice in Brazil. Watch 93 Slayton. Watch him get off on the snap here. Cam Jurgens snap. He's the first one to move. Jurgens has moved the ball. Slayton's gone. All right? He 350 pounds right there. Right now, Jalen hasn't even gotten the push yet. Underneath is Kenny Clark. And now goes right there. Jalen's knee is down at the 34. They had to get to the 32-yard line. All right? They get stopped. If you watch it from the end zone here, this is good. This is how you stop Kenny Clark with the towel right there, 97. Watch him get between Dickerson and Jurgens. Watch his low penetration. He's lower than the curb. He's down on the curb. Watch this. Bam. All right, now watch Slayton at 350 pounds. He gets off first. And now you got Quay Walker over the top. And they stopped it. And they stopped it again in the fourth quarter down on the 1-yard line where the Eagles fumbled it. They want to stop the tush push. They got a vote out there to ban it. They did a better job than anybody in any game over the 3 years of stopping the Philly shove, the tush push, whatever you want to call it.
Call me crazy, but if this play is so darn unfair, you cannot have this play in the league, then why has only one team perfected it and the other 31 teams all trying to also win a Super Bowl haven't?
I almost feel a little insulted because we worked so hard at that play. The amount of things that we've looked into how to coach that play, the fundamentals, there's 1,000 plays out there, but it comes down to how you teach the fundamentals and how the players go through and do with the fundamentals. I can't tell you how many times we practice the snap, we practice the play, because it's not a play that it's easy to practice. There's different ways we figured out how to practice it. The complements that come off of it that can create explosive plays. We saw it in big-time games this year, and the fact that it's an automatic thing, that Like, we work really, really hard, and our guys are talented at this play.
When you apply logic to this, it's as dumb as it gets, but I think there are enough teams that are so tired of Philadelphia running it down their throats via the brotherly shove that eventually, whether it's this year or next, they're probably sadly going to ban it. And I do want to point out one actual good clip from an opposing team's coach today, and that was Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniels when he was asked about Birds' new passing game coordinator and former Dolphin, Parks Frazier.
An outstanding job for us and was deserving of a little more responsibility. I think it's a great place for him to go, knowing his relationship with Coach Sirianni, and he did a great job with us assisting Coach Bevel in the quarterback's room, and I expect him to continue to progress in his career.
I know Frazier is somewhat of an unknown in the league right now, but I feel pretty confident saying if you bookmark this video right now, hold on to it for 2 or 3 years, Frazier will be an offensive coordinator somewhere else in the National Football League, or he'll be the newest internal hire by the Philadelphia Eagles. I did really like Nick Sirianni's response to the question today about Birds' new offensive coordinator, Kevin Patullo, and why he is the right fit to become the Birds' new play caller on offense.
You know, I picked Kevin out of the people that we interviewed because thought he was the best man for the job, first and foremost. And also, I think that when you look at good organizations, you know, in college football, professional football, you know, continuity is very, very important. And we were able to have a guy in-house that is so ready to do the job that he's going to be asked to do. And we were able to keep continuity for Jalen. We're able to keep continuity for the receivers, AJ and Devontae, the offensive line, the offensive staff. There's a lot to that.
I said all last week, I'm pumped for Kevin Patullo. It's a long off season between now and learning if he's actually going to be good or not, but as I've said, there's a lot of potential there. Also, for those who care about the whole Eagles White House visit drama we talked about on yesterday's show, well, about 0.02 seconds after I dropped my video yesterday on a report saying the Eagles did not want to go to the White House, well, here we go. Every major news outlet since has said, in fact, the Eagles will go and are excited to get the invite from President Trump. Not much more to say here because it doesn't really matter whether they go, whether they don't go, and the comment section always gets nasty, but there you have it. That's the current report on the Eagles White House visit. Now, I said at the beginning of the show, the NFL Combine has a ton of leagues coming out. And we haven't even gotten to the part where Philadelphia is meeting with actual draft prospects, telling us, do they want to go here, draft this player, that position? It's all going to happen in the next couple of days and weeks. Be sure to go ahead and subscribe. I'll cover it all here on the channel. No Wednesday link live on Wednesday evening this week because Josh and his wife have stuff going on. We're going to do it tentatively Thursday afternoon, so we're going to look out for that live stream to happen, but it will be happening later on this week. Thomas Mott, the NFL Combine is here, and the rumors are getting pretty wild. We'll see what actually comes true. This has been the Thomas Mott Show.